Drug abuse. As written by Dr. Mangal, refers to the use of certain chemicals for the purpose of creating pleasurable effects on the brain. There are over 190 million drug users around the world, and the problem has been increasing at alarming rates, especially among young adults under the age of 30.
Here are the history about drug abuse. In 19th century in the US, the Chinese immigrants brought the poppy plants with them. Opium dens became popular, and many people began to struggle with addiction. Since then, opium has evolved into street heroin and morphine and derivative analgesic. During the early part of the nation's history, addiction was seen as a moral failing. People struggling with addiction were left to die in the street or were thrown into prison. It wasn't until the late 20th century when brain imaging scan showed the effect of drugs into brain and addiction began to be seen as a disease. And since it is a disease, it can be treated and controlled by proven therapeutic means. Now that we know the root of drug abuse, why is the case continuing? Why do people keep on using drugs that are only necessary to use for the sick and injured people?
Drug abuse happens in the brain. Powerful neurosystems are released in abundance. If you intake a drug, the brain will release dopamine, and it will give you euphoric feeling or high. Dr. Gaber-Mate says it's because not enough of us recognize the intense personal trauma that pushes a person to become dependent on illicit substances. On the other hand, drug addiction can start with experimental use of recreational drugs in social situations. And for some people, the drug use becomes more frequent. Attempting to stop is not as easy because addiction is a complex thing. Attempts to stop drug use may cause intense craving and make you physically ill. That is what we call withdrawal symptoms. When a high wears off because the brain balances out the neurochemicals, the user will experience crash or withdrawal. That means sweating, hot and cold flashes, and vomiting.
Here are the possible reasons why drug abuse occurs.
Rebellion. Some teens, even the adults, are more prone to be rebellion going against the grain. Use of drugs are not socially acceptable in the Philippines. Some of them rebel, stand out, and to be kind. They may simply be a phase of rebellion experimentation, or it may develop into an addiction. Possibly it can cause, or the reason why is lack of attention. Second, losing a loved one. The death of a loved one, such as close friend or family member, or even a mentor who positively influenced a person, can cause some of them to use drugs. Other people really struggle with emotional or physical loss, so they use drugs as a grief in the short term. But at the end of the day, it will depend on the people how to manage and accept it. Financial problems. All of us are almost experiencing financial problems. That's why there are cases that we need to explore and find some work to have better life and financially. There are reasons why other people use drugs to forget everything, but in reality, it will get too hard for them. Also, there are people who sell and sometimes use, but it will harm our health, and all the time it's not good and wouldn't be better for us. Environmental influences. Some of us enjoy the environment that we have. Communicating with others is the most enjoyable part of this world. But there are reasons why they are implicated with drugs because of their influential friends. But some of them decided to join and used to. but it means all of us should follow our burden. Instead, we must follow the right and good decisions that it will be better for us. End of a relationship. The end of a relationship is one of the most emotionally destructive events in a person's life. When a relationship ends through a breakup or divorce, it can negatively impact self-confidence. That's why some of them want to use drugs to forget what happened in their life. If the person doesn't have appropriate emotional support available to them, they may use drug as a way of grieving the loss of their relationship.
To prevent drug addiction, whether it's from home or outside the workplace or school, the best way to avoid addiction is to know the problem you're dealing with before getting involved in the addiction beforehand. Here are 4 ways to avoid relying on drugs to get through life. Also, quick disclaimer, we're only students and this video is used for academic purposes only. If you're suffering from drug abuse, please seek professional help. Number 1. Learn to deal with life's pressures. The inability to deal with normal life pressures is one of the major reasons that drive people to drugs and alcohol. For many people, drug and alcohol consumption is a way to escape the harsh realities of life. Learning to cope with life's pressures will go a long way when it comes to helping people stay away from drugs and alcohol. Number 2, don't give in to peer pressure. Some people, particularly teenagers and young adults, experiment with drugs just to portray a cool image in front of others. They do it to fit in among their circle of friends. Some kids wrongly believe that doing drugs or consuming alcohol will make them more acceptable and popular with other kids. Not giving in to peer pressure can and will prevent drug addiction. Number 3, develop close family ties. Research indicates that people who share a close relationship with their families are less likely to become drug addicts. The guidance and support provided by the family makes it easier for a person to deal with life pressures and stay away from all types of harmful substances. The same is true for having a close relationship with good friends that are responsible and trustworthy. And number 4, develop healthy habits. Eating a balanced diet and exercising regularly is another way of preventing drug and alcohol addiction. Being healthy and active makes it easier for people to deal with life stresses. This, in turn, reduces the temptation to rely on drugs and alcohol to deal with stress. A healthy diet and regular exercise promotes feel-good chemicals in the brain. If you're already to the point where drug abuse is performed, there are some treatment options you may consider for treating addiction, like detoxification, behavioral counseling, medication, long-term follow-up,